G'day guys and gal. No matter who you are or where you come from, we can all agree that massive mechas throwing hands is extremely epic. Warhammer 40k does not disappoint in this regard, with almost every faction having their own version of a titan. For the Elder, they slowly sing and weave their titans into existence, using their best and rarest spirit stones to bring them to life. For the Imperium, they spend years blessing and consecrating each sacred cog and machine part, to give birth to their god machines of war. For the Orks, they just bang a bunch of metal together and voila, a Gargant is born. It ain't pretty, but the Gargants have killed numerous Imperial Titans on many occasions, whilst also turning the tide of battle for the Orks, so they aren't to be underestimated. Before we get started, it's Friday baby, so October continues, this time with the release of the Gigamech, one of the biggest major mini releases to date. This beast towers above the battlefield, acting as both a troop transport as well as a walking weapons platform, featuring an autocannon, missile pods, and even a dick-mounted machine gun, amongst other things. Now the Gigamech isn't Gargant sized, more like a Gorkanaut. Here is a scaling picture with the Ork Demon Killer, and he is about war boss size. It'll make a great addition to any Ork army, adding a unique flavour that no one else has. This further expands the Ork range, which also includes the Ork Spider Truck, the Ork Demon Killer, and the King Ork. Going further than that, Major Minis itself has dozens of other models from various different factions, so check it out and who knows, maybe there'll be something there for you. Shipping is $10 worldwide or free if you spend over $75. Today we'll go over the lore of the Ork Titans, the Gargants, detailing where they came from, how they are made, what their capabilities are, how they compare to other Titans, as well as some of their best moments from the lore. Let's get into it. Now, whilst Gargants are significantly less complicated than other titans and take way less time to build, that doesn't make them any less sacred or holy. In fact, you could argue that the Gargants are the holiest of all titans, and not just because of their dick guns. See, Ork mech boys don't just make Gargants or even know how to make Gargants. If they could, the Orks would have literally infinite Gargants since they don't require much material or effort to build. No, what happens is that an Ork mech boy will receive a vision from Gork, or maybe Mork, that will imbue them with the motivation and know-how to build an Ork Gargant. This divine power will spread to other Ork mechs, allowing them to aid in the building of the Gargant or build their own Gargants. In order to receive this divine inspiration, the Ork Wa must reach a certain level of power, which is why you see Gargants everywhere on planets like Armageddon. However, in other smaller Ork war zones, they seem to be absent. Generally, the final stage of an Ork Wa being formed is the creation of Gargants, almost like Gork and Mork are officially blessing and sanctioning the Wa. Now, due to the nature of a Gargant, that being a big stack of metal and guns made by a cooked Ork mech boy who received a hectic psychedelic vision from his god, no two Gargants are the same. Some are smaller and more like Ork Dreadnoughts, others are a bit smaller and are called Stompers, others are fucking massive and are called Mega Gargants, or like they say in English, Yamam. Either way, one thing is consistent, the science and technology behind the Gargants shouldn't work. However, due to the Ork Wa, they are held together through the sheer power of belief. The Gargant itself is very primitive, none of its systems are automated, with the Gargant being full of Gretchen and Orks who operate every aspect of it. Since they don't have Vox, they communicate via tubes carrying their voices around the Gargant. Some Gargants do have power fields that act as force fields, however they cannot regenerate them when destroyed. When compared to a Titan, Gargants usually hit harder and burn faster, but have terrible staying power, whilst Titans are much better at sustained warfare, as they can regenerate their shields and their machine spirits can push on through devastating injury. A Gargant will have three main weapon systems. The first is the dozens of guns, flamers, missile pods and whatnot that are designed to keep borders off the Gargant, keep the skies around it clear, or take out land infantry. Then there are its main guns, like massive cannons or zappers. They will also usually have a large dick cannon and one of their arms also being a cannon. Finally, they also have their main melee weapon, which is generally what they will try to use against enemy Titans. Whilst Gargants are rarely a match for an Imperial Titan in a 1v1, they aren't designed to be. Orks will generally use more than one Gargant to take out a Titan, and they consider losing a Gargant in order to heavily damage a Titan to be a fair trade. In order to counter more powerful Titans, such as Imperator or Warmonger class Titans, the Orks can, on very rare occasion, create Mega Gargants. These Mega Gargants are significantly bigger and more powerful than normal Gargants, supporting way more guns and cannons at a significantly larger size. Even still, they generally don't match these Titans in direct combat, however they can weaken them greatly or deliver the death blow to an already weakened Titan. In some ultra rare occasions, the Orks will make a super Mega Gargant, such as the Mega Gargant Godbreaker. This Gargant wiped out numerous Imperial Titans and even destroyed an Imperator Titan. However, to be fair, it was fresh and the Imperator was on its last legs and probably should have died days ago. So overall, the Gargants are not more powerful than Imperial or Elder Titans, however they are significantly more numerous and can be literally built in a scrapyard. Often Orks will crash land their ships on a world and then use the ship's wreckages to build Gargants. A better way to frame it is like this: if the Imperium has a Titan and the enemy doesn't, they will pull back or bring their own Titans. If the Orks have a Gargant and the Imperium doesn't have a Titan, they will go, oh shit, it's a Gargant. Fix bayonets! Not literally, however, Gargants have a ton of weaknesses that can be exploited, thus many Gargants have fallen to Space Marines or even Guardsmen. For example, in the ice world of Simia Octarius, whatever the fuck that is, Commissar Kane and his men were faced with a Gargant in a three-way battle between themselves, the Orks, and the Necrons. Kane noticed that the Gargant had a damaged leg, so ordered all firepower to be poured into that leg, causing it to break and the Gargant to topple over. During an Ork invasion of Ultramar, a Gargant was attacking a city. To counter the threat, an Ultramarine assault squad managed to close with the Gargant and place demolition charges on it, blowing it up. Baneblades have also been known to take out Gargants as well. None of the above listed methods would have worked on Imperial or Eldar Titans. As a bit of a side note, there used to be Gargants that were unbelievably powerful. These were called the Temple Gargants and were the size of hive cities. No Titans could match them in size or power, however, as these were only buildable during the War in the Beast, the conditions and power of the War required for Temple Gargants to be built no longer exists, so for now the galaxy doesn't have to deal with these. It does make you wonder though, if Gargants are the direct result of a turbocharged War, what did the Gargants look like during the War in Heaven, when the War was at its greatest? Was there continent-sized Gargants, but made with more sophistication? That would be a sight to see. Now for some spicy Gargant moments in the lore. During the battle for Rin's world, where the Crimson Fists were almost annihilated, the Orks built 6 Gargants in preparation for their final push. However, the Crimson Fists were just able to receive reinforcements in time, including a Titan Legion, which was enough to crush the enemy Gargants. Gargants were used extensively during the Third War for Armageddon. In fact, just before the war started, Commissar Yarrick invaded the world of Golgotha to try and kill Gazgal Mag-Uruk Thraka. The world was full of Gargants of all designations, which is when they were first officially classed as an Ork war machine. This implies that up until the Third War for Armageddon, the Orks would have rarely used Gargants, perhaps because up until the rise of Gazkul, the Ork War was not strong enough to produce Gargants in any meaningful numbers. But it does also seem like a bit of a canon conflict, since Gargants were definitely active in war zones prior to the invasion of Golgotha. But I don't know man, I wasn't there. During the siege of Helsreach, the Orks threw Gargant after Gargant at the city, weakening and killing Imperial Titans, before they unleashed one of the greatest Mega Gargants ever made, the Godbreaker. This Gargant tore through the Imperial Titans as I said above, culminating in the execution of an Imperator Titan, thus breaking the Titan Legion within Helsreach. It was only due to the discovery and activation of a Dark Age of Technology supercannon that the Godbreaker was destroyed. Sure, Gargants can be laughed at and seen as inferior Titans, but they can equally be a huge problem and pretty damn terrifying. To be honest, there isn't a crazy amount of Gargant lore out there, which I mean fair enough, they're a pile of scrap metal with guns sticking out of them, nor am I going to bore you by blowing out the length of this video. However, there are a few pretty unique types of Gargants I haven't mentioned yet that we can suss. So as I said before, there are the Stompers, which are kind of like Warhound Titans. They are smaller and pack less of a punch, but can still be a massive backbone to an Ork force. The chunkier version of these are called the Super Stompers. Then there are the Mech Boy Gargants, which is what happens when after building a bunch of Gargants for his war boss and his war, the Mech Boy is like, oi, why the fuck don't I build myself a Gargant? As this realization comes at the end of an Ork muster, the Mech Boy Gargants are rushed and not as good as normal Gargants, but they still pack a mighty punch. Then we have the very rare Witch Engines, Gargants controlled by psychic weird boys who use the Gargant to enhance their own powers. I wouldn't exactly compare them to a Psi Titan of the Auto Sinister, but they are still quite spicy. Then there are the Steam Gargants, also very rare as they are made by Feral Orks. Feral Orks being those Orks cut off from Ork civilization without technology and have to figure it out for themselves. They are way less advanced than normal Gargants, but still pretty epic. Then we have the Standard Gargant, if any of them can be considered standardized. Before we then get into the Great Gargant, which is a chunkier version of a normal Gargant. Finally, the top dog is the Mega Gargant, as we've discussed, and of course there is the now extinct Temple Gargant. That's a lot of fucking Gargants. Nothing screams 40k more than gigantic slabs of metal covered in guns. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then pick up the Gigamech, a great way to spice up a force with a unique model. Hit the subscribe button and hit the real subscribe button for more Orky content. Join the Discord for more memes and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.